But let's look at the bigger picture here. And it's just 2 points come to mind. One is that it's extremely tone deaf for the agency that is responsible to promote an industry to give itself bonuses when that industry is struggling. And the second thing is that let's look at it from the perspective of taxpayers. Because Destination Canada got $121 million from taxpayers last year. It got $96 million from taxpayers the year before that. So essentially, you're having struggling taxpayers during the pandemic footing the bill for their bonuses. Completely unacceptable.
Hey there, I'm Chris Sims. I'm the Alberta Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Franco Terrazzano, you, sir, you are the Federal Director of the CTF, and you had a little bit of, I don't know, it's our version of fun. You dug up some more information on a Crown corporation that's blowing our money by handing out pay raises. Get this, pay raises during the pandemic. Yes, it's the latest chapter in this saga of the tale of two pandemics. So which Crown corporation is screwing us over now?
Yeah, well, that's now. Well, this one is just absolutely ridiculous. So the Crown Corporation that is now screwing taxpayers over is, wait for it, Destination Canada. Yeah, I bet you didn't even know we had a Destination Canada, but they are the Crown Corporation that is essentially supposed to be promoting tourism in Canada. Well, get this, Destination Canada thought it was a good idea to hand out bonuses while tourists weren't allowed to come to Canada. Yeah, I see you're shaking your head there.
How does it make sense?
Well, their executives got bonuses of about $32,000 each in 2020 on average, and $16,000 each on average in 2021. So let me just paint the picture for you. During the pandemic, during lockdowns, when people weren't allowed to travel to Canada, the Crown Corporation that is tasked with promoting tourism to Canada thought it was necessary to give their employees or executives bonuses and pay raises. Chris, that's like giving a Zamboni driver a bonus when there's no ice in the rink.
No kidding. Okay, it's completely wrong and tone deaf and silly for Destination Canada to be handing out pay raises and bonuses while the industry that it is supposed to be promoting was shut down. It was locked down. So you got a few more numbers here, though. Can you break down more of these costs? Like, they're just really eye-popping.
Yeah, I mean, the one off the top is what the executives got. I mean, in 2020, the average bonus for one of these executives was $32,000. Now, in this A-tip that we got back, Destination Canada is like, well, we acknowledge the hardships that the tourism industry went through during the pandemic. So don't worry, we took it on ourselves to reduce the bonuses, but they still got $16,000 each, these executives in 2021. So yeah, thank you.
Like, that is a new car. That is crazy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, in total, there was 84 Destination Canada employees that received a bonus in 2020. There was 92 employees that received a bonus in 2021. Keep in mind, this isn't a big shop compared to some of the other big Crown corporations that we look at, but it's still about 87% of their employees that received a bonus in 2020. And just remember what happened in 2020. Remember the hardships and the lockdowns that the tourism industry had to face. And look, if you add up these bonuses, they add up to about $1.2 million over those 2 years. But wait for it, because the gravy doesn't stop with the bonuses. No. They also handed out pay raises to 79 of their employees in 2020 and 63 of their employees in 2021. And, I'm anticipating that next question. And the answer is no, there were no pay cuts. Surprise, surprise.
I was going to ask, because it doesn't hurt to ask. You never know. You could surprise me one of these days. I think it's easy because most human beings like to try to forget painful things. It's easy for us to try to, leave the COVID mess behind and just pretend nothing bad happened. But let's not do that. Let us actually think about how bloody hard it was on the industry, like hotels and restaurants, the tourism industry. They went through a lot of pain during these lockdowns and this COVID mess. But meanwhile, the bureaucrats who are responsible for promoting their industry gave themselves bonuses and raises. We really need to separate the tale of the two pandemics here, the us and the them.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, it's a good bet that there weren't many servers in the restaurants that were shut down that were getting bonuses. when they
No
were
kidding.
essentially sent to the ranks of the unemployed. So we're here scratching our head, wondering why bureaucrats responsible for promoting the tourism industry thought it was a good idea to give themselves bonuses when the government wasn't letting tourists actually come to Canada. I mean, look, remember, March 2020, the government banned non-essential travel to Canada. And I believe it was like a little bit more than a year later, I saw a press release from the government in August of 2021 saying that they were finally allowing travelers from the United States to come to Canada. So it was a long time when tourists weren't allowed to come to Canada. And of course, even travel within Canada was restricted. Many times we were told not to do non-essential travel. And of course, there were so many restrictions in the restaurants and in the tourist industry during those years. But look, let's also look at some of the data too, right? I mean, Canada's tourism spending was cut in half in 2020. Tourism spending in 2021 still far below pre-pandemic levels. And look, it's not like Destination Canada didn't know that the tourism industry was taking it on the chin while it was stuffing its face full of bonuses. Let me read you a direct quote from one of Destination Canada's own reports. Quote, in 2020, almost 900,000 jobs were lost at the height of the crisis, representing 43% of all tourism employment. In 2021, tourism employment over the first 10 months of the year remained 21% below pre-pandemic 2019 levels, a loss of 360,000 jobs. So the people they are supposed to promoting are suffering. They know that. And then they still give themselves bonuses and pay raises.
Yeah, this is a real thing. One of my longest friends, if we've been friends since we were 8th grade, she had a great job running a hotel. She was making that thing run like a top. And her husband was working on a pipeline that was heading down south. At the same time, she lost her job and they shut down the damn pipeline. So these are real people that get brutalized by these sorts of decisions. But I have to try to play devil's advocate here. Could it be possible that the folks at Destination Canada were working a form of overtime in order to somehow promote the industry, even though it was shut down, to somehow keep it afloat? Like, was this like a Operation Keep the Lights On sort of job detail? Maybe? Tell me, please.
Well, I don't think cranking out advertising internationally would really help much when tourists physically were not allowed to come to Canada. Okay. And look, maybe they were working extra hard to try to promote tourism within Canada. But remember, even non-essential travel within Canada, we were told not to do at many times during the pandemic. Many times.
Like, stay home. That was like the mantra for 2 years. Yeah.
And I have a few personal examples of when I was supposed to be traveling in Canada during the pandemic. I mean, one was December of 2020. This is when my mom was still living in BC. She was living in British Columbia for a few years, and I was supposed to finally travel home to see her and my younger sister. And I didn't go because there was lockdowns that month. Remember when Christmas was like canceled? I sure remembered that.
I remember talking to you over Christmas when you're by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And governments were specifically saying like, hey, avoid non-essential travel. I remember that. But even when non-essential travel was allowed in Canada, we still have to remember just how impacted the tourism industry was. And here's another example. I can't go into all the details here because this is a family show, but my best friend was getting married and I had the privilege of hosting the bachelor party in Fernie, BC. But look, we would go to the restaurants, we'd order our Diet Cokes, of course. And here's the thing, it was huge restrictions still in place. So sure, we were allowed to go to these restaurants, but these restaurants were not at full capacity, not even close. So even when there was tourism allowed in Canada, it was still severely restricted. But let's look at the bigger picture here. And it's just 2 points come to mind. One is that it's extremely tone deaf for the agency that is responsible to promote an industry to give itself bonuses when that industry is struggling. And the second thing is that let's look at it from the perspective of taxpayers, because Destination Canada got $121 million from taxpayers last year. It got $96 million from taxpayers the year before that. So essentially, you're having struggling taxpayers during the pandemic footing the bill for their bonuses. Completely unacceptable.
This is not right, and we have to fight it. So, in that context, I think it's important to end this part of the show on the broader issue. And that is, of course, this is not the first time that crown corporations have handed out bonuses and pay raises during the pandemic. I don't know if it was you who coined it, but this is definitely the tale of two pandemics. And we've had other violators here too.
Oh, sure have. Yep, totally. And our favorite violator, I guess, is the Bank of Canada, right? One job, keep inflation low around 2%. Well, if you've somehow just been able to get out of the rock that you've been living under, you know that the Bank of Canada completely failed to do its only job. And to reward its employees for that failure, the Bank of Canada handed out $45 million in bonuses and pay raises in 2020 and 2021. But of course, the tale of two pandemics doesn't end there, because there's another crown corporation that is no stranger to the taxpayer cookie jar. Of course, I'm talking about your favorite crown corporation, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Now, its overall objective, according to its own website, is housing affordability for all. Well, again, if you haven't been living under a rock, well, maybe you have been living under a rock because it's been very difficult to live under the roof to your own home.
You can't afford it.
Because you can't afford it. Even though they failed to essentially do their one job of housing affordability, they handed out nearly $60 million in pay raises and bonuses during the pandemic. And then, of course, there's everyone's favorite state broadcaster, the CBC. They gave themselves $51 million in bonuses and pay raises in 2020 and 2021. Now, Simmer, I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you. But if the CBC has millions and millions of dollars lying around to hand out bonuses and pay raises during a pandemic, then maybe they don't need to take $1 billion from taxpayers every single year.
Nope. Let's defund them and save more than $1 billion for taxpayers every single year. That would be a nice big thorn out of people's sides here in Canada. Now, folks, we know that this can get gloomy. We know it can get frustrating. But as we explained earlier in the show, we can get good wins if we push back and we all speak with one voice. So here in Alberta, we're not going to have a PST. We're not going to have tax hikes, and we're putting money down on the debt. All good stuff. But it only happened because folks like you picked up the phone and you sent in emails and you said, not on my watch, guys. You better smarten up. We can do this federally. So if we all push in one direction together at the same time, we can get them to stop handing out pay raises and bonuses to fat cats and bureaucrats at crown corporations while we're all getting kicked in the teeth. How do you do that? Go to our website, taxpayer.com. You can sign the petition there calling for fair pay for taxpayers. Go do that.